So how did this girl end up in a leadership position in the fastest enterprise IT vendor ever to reach a $10 billion run rate? I was barely older than 5 or 6, sitting at the till in my dad's shop, counting back change to his customers, and they were delighted, you know, and this was my first taste of being appreciated for work well done. And I also think it was probably what maybe kicked off the whole maths in my mind. But I somehow got it into my head as I became a teenager that, you know, traveling was even better than maths. So imagine my mother's dismay when I said to her at around 15, you know, Mum, I'm actually going to leave school at 16 and become a travel agent. Because when you're a travel agent, you get discounted travel, right? It's obvious. So my mum took a deep breath and she said, you could, or because you're good at maths, why didn't you stay on at school, college, you know, do maths, and maybe you can get a good job in banking one day, and then you can afford to travel. I thought, great, yep, good advice from Mum again. So I took that advice, I stayed on at school, I did maths at college, and then I moved over to Germany to start my career in banking. But I still wanted to go traveling. And by this stage, my best friend Petra had also moved over to Germany, and we thought, you know, let's go backpacking. So we both quit our jobs and collected the few hundred Deutschmarks or euros or whatever it was at the time together, and off we went backpacking. And ended up like in the US and in Canada, and of course, as all good things have to come to an end, so did our backpacking tour, so we had to come back to the UK. So I did find a job actually in a bank, but in Luxembourg, so that was my first stint, the first time I moved to Luxembourg. And I got to Luxembourg and again met some great new people, had a fantastic time, you know, it was a solid, secure job and everything. Still something missing, that whole travel thing, you know, and about two years later, I think, or maybe it was just a year later, I can't remember exactly how long, I then actually got a position with the same bank in Singapore. I thought, that's it, banking job, exotic country, exactly what I was looking for. So off I went to Singapore, settled in, met loads of people, had a great time, and I thought, this is it, right? Was it? Still wasn't it. So I think at this stage I realized I wasn't going to find that combination because it wasn't really banking that was for me. It wasn't really my passion. It wasn't coming from within, and as stable as it was and as good it was, it just wasn't enough for me. I worked in this betting office for a few months while still looking for something new to do. And then I got a call from the agency that there was a company called Veritas Software that were looking for a German-speaking team lead for their first-line technical support. And I thought, oh, I get the German bit, but I've never done the team lead bit, and I've never done that technical bit. But, you know, obviously I went along for the interview, and lo and behold, I got the job. So I started work there, and this was definitely the toughest gig I think that I'd ever done, at least to that stage. I was thrown into this completely new world of technology, and I think that's why I have so much respect for technical people, because no matter what technical people say, oh, it's easy, you just pick it up and do a bit of coding here and all that, you know, for a non-technical person, it's not easy, and it's some fascinating stuff. And the first few months in that job, I found them so tough because I was dealing with so many new things. I was dealing with technology, I was dealing with having to manage a small team that included one of the guys who was disgruntled about not getting the job himself, and a woman was coming in to manage him. So there was a lot of new things that I'd never dealt with. And I remember after, you know, a few weeks into this job, I actually came home and I cried. And when I say home, I was living at my mum's at the time with my Kiwi fiance whilst we were looking for somewhere. And I cried. I said, I can't do this. I don't want to go back. Please don't make me go back tomorrow. And of course, my mum had a pep talk with me, and I also, you know, pulled myself together and I said, of course you can do this. Why can't you do this? Just pull yourself together, Whelan. That was still my name at the time. And I did. I pulled myself together, went back to work the next day, and the day after, and the day after that, and it was tough for another 6 months. And then I actually started enjoying it. I thought, actually, this is pretty cool. I think I started understanding the technology. You know, when customers were calling up and, you know, giving me their technical support issue, I started to think, oh, that sounds familiar. Oh, you know, I can't fix it, obviously, but, you know, I knew what they were talking about. So that was a really great feeling. Yes. And throughout this time, we bought a house. I did get married, but of course we didn't just get married in the UK, because of course we had to fly to Barbados and had to be somewhere exotic. So we had a fantastic wedding, St. Lucia, the honeymoon, back to the UK, and clearly the travel bug just never left me. And I had a great time, and I had 2 children, and throughout this whole time I was still growing my career. So I never had that feeling of being held back, either because I was a woman or because I've got children now and I can't go to work. I just kind of completely glazed over that fact, and I took my maternity leave and I came back and I took a new role, and it was really about, I think I just, you know, with an open mind, approached it all and really had this sort of can-do attitude. I think ever since that day when I came home crying from work, you know, and pulling myself together, I thought, no, I can do it. Of course I can. So I got the call from Amazon one day, about 5.5 years ago, and Amazon Web Services were looking for somebody to set up a training team in EMEA. So I don't think I even thought about this too much. I was absolutely going to do it. I did obviously have to discuss it with the family because it meant picking them up and moving them to Luxembourg. But my husband was on board straight away, you know, and this is where, you know, support is so not just useful but needed. You need the support of others, you know. Don't think you've got to be this strong woman who can do it all alone and do everything and be this perfect magical woman out there. And also I got into stuff at Amazon that, you know, I'd also never experienced before. So I got into mentoring, for example. A young employee asked me a couple of years ago if I would be her mentor, and I'd never had a mentor, I'd never done mentoring, but I said, sure, why not? So we had these sessions and we got to know each other really well, and she was profusely thanking me then throughout the year and at the end of helping her in her career. But actually, all throughout this, she was actually helping me as well, discovering something new, you know, not only about myself, but what I was able to give back. So you know, then the next person asked me and the person after that, and that is something that I really, really do love about my job. You know, I'm not just the technical training manager. I can actually branch out and I can do some mentoring. So really, you know, to sum it up, I think there's a place for everyone in technology. Whether you've come from a background like mine or a completely different background, you know, you can find your spot in technology. Or maybe you are a deep techie that's been you know, in a DevOps role for the last 20 years, but maybe you want to move into management and you can't, you know, you don't think it fits in where you are now. Of course it does. You know, there's space for all of us in technology, and try and find that passion, but don't obsess about it. Enjoy the journey that gets you there. Enjoy every minute. You know, have fun, even if you know, oh, it's not perfect what I'm doing right now, but hey, life's too short to not enjoy that time. And you know, like I said, take the support that you can get. Work hard and take some risks. You know, not crazy risks necessarily, but you know, when they asked me, would you like to present or represent Amazon as a keynote speaker at the Women in Tech conference, I took a big gulp and thought, oh my God, really? In front of, you know, all these people? And then I thought, but what's the worst that can happen? 900 women think you suck and tweet all about it? On the other hand, you know, maybe my story resonates with just one woman in this audience. You know, maybe there's just somebody out there that's thinking, you know what, I'm going to take that risk. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to stop being miserable about what I'm doing now. I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to enjoy what I do. So the most important thing is have fun, enjoy it. And thank you for having me.